Hey everyone, how you doing? It's your boy Shaheener coming at you with Season 2 of the Pokemon Babblers podcast, Episode 5. Of course, as always, joined by my co-host Bono over here.
Hey.
And we have a very special guest with us. He's been on the podcast before on Season 1. We discussed Gold, Silver, and Crystal with him. A good friend of ours, just good personal friend, good friend of the channel.
Good friend.
Yeah. Our buddy Perkley01, a.k.a. Patrick, a.k.a.
Young Slime.
Yeah, Young Slime, not loved by Greg, was Tyler's friend. Perkley, welcome.
Thank you. He was Alex's friend.
Yes.
No. Always Alex's friend.
Soon, always is my friend. Always is Alex's friend.
Yeah. Thank you for having me back.
Of course.
I know we had a lot of fun doing the podcast last time, so I'm here to bring more
hot takes.
more Pokemon knowledge.
I remember when we were finishing up that recording, and I was saying that this is one of my favorite recording sessions that we've ever done for Babblers, and I still stand by that. That was such a fun episode to record. We were just talking shit the whole time and just reminiscing on one of the best games that has ever come out in the Pokemon franchise.
Whoa, hold on.
One of. Listen,
there we go.
We got another one. We got another one we're talking about over here. We got a game on the Nintendo Gamecube, one that we all hold very near and dear to us in different ways. And that, of course, is Pokémon Colosseum. Pokémon Colosseum came out on the Gamecube. So in Japan, it came out November 21st, 2003. For North America, March 22nd, 2004, which was, I think, just a few days before my 11th birthday. Or 10th birthday. Actually, yeah, it was just right before my 10th birthday. In Europe, it came out in May 14, 2004, and Australia, June 24, 2004. So we actually have a release date for Australia for once, again. So, it's developed by Genius Sonority, who also developed the Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which is a sequel to this game we'll talk about next episode. Mm-hmm. They also did Battle Revolution, they did Shuffle, they did Cafe Remix. And most of the employees of this developer were part of the developer Heartbeat, who developed Dragon Quest VII. They weren't, as far as I remember watching a Did You Know Gaming video, that they weren't familiar with Pokemon at all. And so they had to learn all the mechanics and stuff when they were asked to develop Colosseum.
Which is pretty crazy considering, they've been made probably one of the best, like you said, one of the best Pokemon games of the franchise, knowing absolutely nothing about Pokemon.
Yeah. So what is your guys' history with Colosseum, by the way? Because I feel like I have kind of a different thing with it compared to you guys.
Shit, I don't even know. I legit can't remember buying it. I remember buying XD because I bought XD and I think the GameCube at the same time. So I might have gotten Colosseum before, but I didn't have the GameCube. I don't know. I might have rat tactics my way into getting the game before the GameCube, and then convinced my parents to buy the GameCube and XD because I'm like, oh well, I have a game, but I don't have the system. We might as well buy the system. While we're here, we might as well buy the game too.
Yeah.
I'm with Bono. I actually cannot remember. I remember having a GameCube, and I remember playing Colosseum. I don't know how I got it. I was a huge fan of Pokemon Stadium, and also linking your they had the link tables and everything, and you have your old team, your own team from your old games, and bring them over to Stadium and everything. So, but that was on the N64 and everything. So I honestly I think it was I got the GameCube, played Zelda non-stop, and then one day maybe I just got Colosseum.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely played Colosseum before Gale of Darkness, but I just don't remember how I got it.
Shit, yeah, no. Now the memories are starting to resurface. Now that I have to fish in there, because I remember getting Tales of Symphonia for my birthday, so I had that I think at Springview, either 7th or 8th grade. So I had to have gotten the GameCube before that.
So I very vividly remember getting Colosseum because, as I mentioned before, this was around my birthday. And I was, at this point, I was already fully invested in Cerebi. I found out about Cerebi in 2003 or so from one of my friends, Kellen.
How much of the stock did you get?
Right. I wish. If they even were public or made any money. I don't know if they make any money. Sure, well enough that he could do this for over 20 years. Shout out Cerebi. But Yeah, I remember seeing that they had a pre-order disc that, so if you pre-order Pokemon Colosseum, that they give you a special disc on the side that allowed you to get the distribution for the mythical Pokemon Jirachi. First time that we got it, like there was a lot of marketing into Jirachi at this point with the pre-order disc, with a movie Jirachi Wishmaker, just a bunch of stuff about it. And I begged my parents for this. I was like, please, this is the one thing I've ever wanted in my life ever. Like, blah blah blah, kid, whatever. And so we had a birthday. I had my birthday party at Scandia, home of the giant circular death trap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure my parents have a video recorded of it, like home movie. You don't like to look at that kind of stuff, but I remember. I think at one point I might have seen it, but they got me the gift. They got me Pokemon Colosseum with the pre-order disc. Like, they got it. I don't know if they actually pre-ordered it or my dad just bought it on eBay from a third party. But I was, like, screeching. I was so happy, like, that I had it. And I played it a little bit. But I was such a simpleton that I didn't get past, like, a certain point. I remember it was somewhere early in the game. I just was like, I'm losing all the time. What do I do? What do I do? And I just gave up because 10-year-old brain can't comprehend.
Also, I mean, Colosseum's no joke. There's some different spike curves, I think.
Yeah, which is something that we could, like, a point we could talk about later. I kind of remember that whenever I got the game, I don't know, I didn't give it like a fair shake until like maybe like the last year of middle school, when I just sat down and actually played it.
I definitely came back to this game. This is not a game I beat when I first got it.
Because I didn't really go back to Colosseum since then. I went back to XD, which we'll talk about again next episode.
Also, check out the Ribbon video linked in the description.
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't have XD at the time because I think I was just being just a spoiled brat. Honestly, like in hindsight, I was just being a brat. And
it changed.
Yeah, I know. And we ended up I just ended up not being appreciative of like the GameCube and respecting it at the time. So like I just had my parents like sell it or like give it to somebody or something. I can't remember. And and I kick myself to this day for thinking that, because I think I had the GameCube that was in all black.
Mm-hmm.
And or no, I had the silver one. I
I have the one that's all black.
Yeah. I had a buddy that had the XD GameCube where it just had the Shadow Lugia of the.
I think I saw one of those at a GameStop before.
Right.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah.
Just the purple one.
I mean, the purple one's sick though. That's my current one right now. My GameCube right now is purple. That's a classic though. Yeah. So this game
silver over purple any day.
Right. Even the orange one was sick.
I'm gonna send you a black jacket for your birthday next year.
Thank you.
So this game is more in line with the games that we're accustomed to on handhelds, where it's more. I mean, there's two modes to it, so it kind of combines the RPG stuff that we're used to, and it combines also the battle mode that they have in Stadium and Stadium 2. So it's kind of in a way like the best of both worlds on there.
It's like a 2-in-1 game. Like if you love Stadium and that's what you want to do, aside from there being no rental Pokemon
or mini games.
Or mini games, that could just be attributed to, like I said, they like time constraints.
Yeah.
Or like what the Pokemon Company told them to do. But essentially you still get it 2 for 1. You could get any, and it's up to your current games. So at this time, which is Ruby, Sapphire,
Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green.
I don't know,
but they did more focus though. At least on this game, they focused more on Ruby and Sapphire. Emerald and all that stuff, it wasn't really there. I think that even we'll talk about it later, but there's a certain thing that you could only acquire on Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah, like I think if you hook up Emerald, I can't remember. We'll see in the XD episode, or I'll try to look in between there. Like, because like how with Ruby and Sapphire came out before Fire Red and Leaf Green, right? But if you link to those games, the trainer in Fire Red and Leaf Green, depending on if it's a boy or a girl, will just be Mayor Brendan.
Yeah.
As opposed to like if you played it in Emerald, they'll be Red or Leaf.
Right, that's true.
So I don't know if has like this game, if Emerald hooks up to it, if it's just the standard male trainer model, or if he has the green headband.
I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be the standard model.
Well, they have the models in the battle tower, so I'm assuming, or at least they have May. So I'm assuming that they would
Yeah, but I don't think he has the green headband if you're playing Emerald. But I know
Right.
I think I'm like
okay, yeah.
80% sure in XD that it's the green headband instead of like the standard one.
That would make sense. Yeah, especially because that game came out more like 2005 or so.
The biggest thing about this game, aside from the stadium battle mode, whatever, sure, yeah, if you had friends and you were lucky to have a GameCube and had two link cables, or two GameCube link cables, it's not just regular link cables.
No, you had the GameCube ones.
Then you could battle with your friends in the 3D thing, and it'd be all cool, whatever. But we didn't have that. Nobody had that.
Well,
except for this asshole.
Because remember, I had the pre-order disc.
Damn.
I needed my Jirachi.
Yeah.
So I had the GameCube link cable.
So the best part about this game is the story, but I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit for that. But yes, the story for this game is awesome.
It's insane, dude.
It's
Just the
insanely
intro
good.
is so crazy.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
That's
just,
how you know you're not playing a regular Pokemon game.
Yeah,
Just the intro alone.
exactly. It's just it's such a different experience, and that's why I intentionally wrote our notes to be more about battle mode first, because I just want to get that out of the way so we can really just delve into the RPG mode, the story mode. Yeah, and I had to kind of go everywhere to make notes because like the Colosseum page on Cerebi really isn't updated all that much, and they're still using like the direct Japanese translations for stuff instead of like the Americanized, like the localized names.
I noticed that I think when I did like another playthrough, like maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, when I used the right there on the right part of the screen where it says like the walkthrough, and like a lot of the names in Pokemon are like completely different.
Yeah. Cerebi Joe, if you're watching, please help us out.
Yeah, there are also like other like I've used Cerebi quite a bit these last couple of months, and like I think like I said, like I was telling you about that Excel document I was doing for the Heart Gold Soul Silver thing. Like it says on Cerebi that Slugma's there, and then on like Bulbapedia it says it's not there.
Is it a Slugma male?
It is not a Slugma male.
Yeah. So
shout outs to episode 1,
episode 1 and 3. Yeah, shout out to Bottenbig. So yeah, basically we have the battle mode we're going to talk about first, just so we could just knock it out basically. So there's multiple different things that you could do in the battle mode, or a Colosseum mode, whatever you want to call it. And so the first thing that they brought back from Stadium 1 and 2 is Battle Now. So if you just want to go in, you don't want to worry about like picking a team or bringing your team over. You just Battle Now, pick a difficulty, and you just go one-on-one against a trainer.
Yeah, isn't it 2 teams like that you can pick from? I don't think you can't pick like it's not like Stadium where you can pick like every Pokemon.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I remember we came over to your house and we played it. And
that was
like
XD though.
two
That was XD.
Oh, okay.
That was XD. So this one, I believe you just pick your difficulty and then you just go straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be totally wrong on that. Yeah. So also with Colosseum battling, that you could either pick your team from the story mode, so you could pick like your team of like Espeon and Brion and all them, or if you have the GameCube link cable and Ruby and Sapphire, you could bring your team already over from there and just play, like, just upload them onto your GameCube game and just play with your regular team from Gen 3, which I thought was just a dope feature that you could do that. But also, it's not far from it's not far from, like, what they did on Stadium 1 and 2. So it is cool that they brought that back, just in a different way.
It's a lot more hardware to buy because you got to buy the system,
Yeah.
you got to buy the game, you got to buy the link cable adapter.
It's bringing it back all over again.
And you got to buy the Game Boy Advance, you got to buy a copy of Ruby and Sapphire, then you got to buy a link adapter for that.
Yeah, and then you also have to make sure that you have a Game Boy Advance model that'll work with that, because I mean, you wouldn't be able to use your Game Boy Micro for it, unfortunately.
Right.
But for the 2 people in the world that have it, that's basically just Bono and I. Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, you guys didn't have like 3 SPs. That's what I
right,
had.
I have 3 SPs now. As an adult, I have 3 SPs because I could buy it.
Yeah. How many knees did you have to get destroyed?
A few. Not my own, but yeah. So the regular Game Boy Advance SP, you connect it to there. They have like a little bracket that it hooks onto, and then it connects into the link cable port. You connect that to your GameCube, and it works 1 as like a controller, and 2 as just a transfer cable as well. It transfers data from your Game Boy Advance to your GameCube. And there are 4 tournaments that you could enter in a level 50 bracket, and 2 that you could enter in the level 100 bracket. And each tournament... Yeah, go ahead.
I was say I am interested in how it works because as far as I remember, you have to have the cable plugged in and then turn on the game.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether it's in the Game Boy Advance's startup code or in the game cartridge's code, as to like what if something plugged into the Game Boy Advance, like is that like where is that in the code? Like if plugged in, then load Game Boy Color or Game Boy GameCube thing.
I think what it does, I mean, because I was doing like trades and transfers on XD recently with the Ribbon Challenge, link down below. Basically, what they had you do is that the game would be off, but you have to save at a Pokemon Center. So you go over there, and then once you're ready to transfer your Pokemon over, like system's off, but the link cable's connected. Then it'll tell you turn on your Game Boy Advance, turns on, and then I think that maybe with that link cable already in there, it just recognizes it already as.
I think it might be sending output signals through the cable to the Game Boy Advance, and then from there the Game Boy Advance will be like recognize it, and be like, okay, load this.
Exactly, and so that was exactly. So that's how you'd upload your team, and each tournament had 8 battles in it. And so I mean, if you really want to, if you look at like walkthroughs, it will tell you like what they lead with, but that's in a way like spoilers.
For weak peasants.
Yeah, exactly. So
can't adapt.
Just go in and just sweep house. Like honestly, just go in with your team of 60 Oxys that you could get legitimately in the game, and then you just sweep house. I mean,
go in with your Venusaur that knows no grass.
No
moves.
grass.
No grass moves. That is just.
And then you teach it Giga Drain
brilliant.
halfway through.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah. It had leech seed.
Yeah. So when you were doing that was during Mount Battle, right?
Yeah, that was my Mount Battle challenge. I don't even think I have the stream for that.
Was that during Colosseum or was that during XD?
That was Colosseum because I was going for a Ho-Oh and I caught it.
Oh, sure.
Patrick was there for most of it.
Yeah,
I was. It's one of the first photos on my brand new phone that I got, and it was just you saying congratulations, got Ho-Oh, dude. I was proud of you that day.
Dang. Yeah, I wasn't there for that one. I think I was working because I didn't know.
Don't know. Was it my birthday? I can't remember.
It might have been.
I think I did it for like one of my birthdays.
Yeah, probably 2021. I want to say.
Yeah, we'll get to Mount Battle when we get to it, but that was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so basically that's essentially it. But when you win on those battles, then you get Poke Coupons, which are a currency in Colosseum. It's not the primary currency, but it helps you get like TMs and other items. It's just more of like a thing if you just want to go straight into battle and you don't want to worry about the story. You just go in, don't think about it, just do
it's like the battle tower in the modern games. You just get get your Poke Coupons or your what are they called, battle points?
Yeah, battle points, Poke
and you
Coupons.
use it to get the choice items like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, all the good TMs that they hide from you in these older games. Yeah,
or the berries. I know. I think it was NXT for sure, but they had like very rare berries that help with. I'm pretty sure with EVs, like with EVs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think the Enigma berry, they lost it, right? Like I don't think it's a current berry anymore. So it only exists. Like a couple of them only exist in Gen 3.
Yeah.
Like the berries change if you try to trade them up.
Yeah. What about the Eligma berry?
No, they don't.
What about
the Eligma berry?
Anyways, so I think now since we got the battle mode out of the way, because it's not really much to talk about there, let's get into the story. Let's get into story mode.
Where do we begin?
We begin with a fucking explosion out of nowhere. That's where we begin.
Yeah.
Right. I think it like starts out over the desert. Oh yeah, this game takes place in the Ore region, which apparently is based off of Arizona, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the few American-based regions.
One of two. So it was the first one. They're like loose. They don't ever like come out and say, "Yeah, it's Arizona," but it's like loosely based off of the Arizona desert.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a Skarmory flying over some mesas, and then out of nowhere, there's like this building just explodes, like Patrick said.
Yeah.
And you see your character with his cool shades and his like ridiculously evil smile.
He's so villainous. You get to finally play this bad guy, dude. That's the first thought I had when I was playing this game. I was like, oh, we are not. This is not a protagonist. This is an antagonist for sure.
To recognize that it was just like a stand. I was like, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. And essentially, what you're doing, your character's name is Wes. I think it's supposed to be like a play on West.
Probably.
but you break into what's called Team Snag'em, and you steal a device called the Snag'em machine, which Wes immediately puts on, and you jump out of like a 2-story building with your Umbreon, and then hop into your unicycle motorcycle with a big ass V12 engine on it.
And it's then just straight out of like, it's basically like a Mad Max ass situation. Like everything very feels like desert, like apocalyptic. Just everything is just cobbled together, kind of thing.
Right, and as you're like dusting, as you're like getting ready to like peel out of there, like the rest of Team Snag'em like runs out of their base, and then their leader's like, you villain. So yeah. That's how it starts, and then from there it's just
banger
crazy.
Intro.
Yeah,
banger intro.
Yeah, exactly. That's the opening sequence right there, and then you're into the game. It's not just like, oh, you're leaving town, you miss your mom.
Yeah, you're 10 years old, you can have your first Pokemon. Like, no.
I don't need no running shoes. I don't need no Pokedex. I don't need no starting Pokemon. I got Umbreon and Espeon.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? This is the first game where your starter Pokemons are Espeon and Umbreon, first off. And that's like...
actually goated Pokemon.
Goated Pokemon, yeah. You're not starting with some weak-ass starter.
So, and that's the thing, too. Like... So, yeah, you start with goated Pokemon, and it's the first time you start with 2 Pokemon. Not only that, it's the first time you start with a starter Pokemon. You don't start with, like, Bulbasaur, Charmander, or whatever.
These are evolutions, yeah.
And they also have experience on them already. So you get them at level 25, but when you do your first battle, they already have some experience points on them. So it's like, this character's been using them since they were Eevees.
Yeah, this is kind of like, it drops you... I mean, like, each game kind of, like, drops you into the story. Like, it's like, hey, you're a beginning trader. But this one is more or less dropping you into, like, somebody else's, like, story that's, like, you know, not halfway through, but, like, is at least, like, a decent amount in. Because, like, Wes probably had 2 Eevees and then trained them up to what they were and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
or how do we know he didn't steal them?
Yeah, how do we know he didn't steal them? And through little details and stuff like that, you do come to find that Wes was a part of the Team Snag'em that he just stole the Snag'em machine from. And the one that he stole is like a brand new prototype that they had just gotten to be able to use. Because before that, I think like some of the vending machines that are vending machine things in Team Snag'em is what they use to actually like do the to steal the Pokemon. And I don't remember where exactly I read this, so this might all just be like my interpretation of it. But the difference and why that Snag'em machine is so important is because it can turn the balls, because I think it says it every time you go to throw the Pokeball, that the Pokeball turns into a Snag'em ball. Or it says something like Snag'em.
Yeah, it's a snack ball.
And that the device can create those on the fly, because it's portable, and like that's how it does it. That's why it's so useful, because before that, they have to use those machines and put a regular Pokeball in, and then it'll turn it into a Snag'em ball. And then you can use that Pokeball. But that's why it's like a prototype, and it's so well, not priceless, but like why they covet it so much.
Yeah.
Because it can do that on the fly, as opposed to having to, you know, use a couple of them, let's say, and obviously the Snag'em balls can break out like regular Pokemon. Mm-hmm. So it's not like 100% capture either. So let's say you try to steal it from a guy, and you're just not good at catching Pokemon. They bust out, and the guy calls the cops. Then he has to go back to the base, get more Snag'em balls, and then try to steal the Pokemon again. Whereas, you know, this thing could just create Snag'em balls as long as he can pull them out of his pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it's important, and that's why it's cool. There was a manga. It only had like a couple chapters.
I didn't know that.
But it hits every important story beat of the game like relatively quickly. But yeah, this game is like really awesome because, well, we'll get into that later. But we'll talk about like why this game exists. I think is something to get into first of all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So this game exists kind of to fill in the void between like just like the handheld games and like what this season 2 has been all about is about side games or spin-off games. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who was in the building or who was in like the room at the time that said we need like a stadium clone for the 3rd generation of Pokemon, and like what the budget was or what exactly they told Genius Sonority to do. But the fact that they did what they did with this game, not once but twice, is like the planets aligning and like money raining down from the sky.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not like end of days apocalypse stuff, but like everything right happening to get this product.
I think what you said in one of our previous episodes, I don't remember which one exactly, but you said this was the golden age of spin-offs, and I think that this and XD are really proof of that, of the golden age of a spin-off game. Because like the quality and the love that they put into these games is just unparalleled with any other like spin-off game.
You put this over the Dungeon Finder games?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would too.
I just know a lot of people love those.
Oh yeah,
they do.
No, the Ranger games were great. We'll talk about those for sure.
Yeah,
but this was
to cover it, like aside from all that, like all the great things about this game serves one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to give you, the player or the consumer, a chance to capture the Johto Pokemon that are non-existent in both Fire Red and Ruby and Sapphire. That is like the entire point of Colosseum and XD, is to let you be able to capture those Pokemon.
Because that's a thing to know. I didn't realize this until I was doing the notes for this episode. All the Pokemon that you could acquire in this game are only from Gen 2 and Gen 3. There are no Gen 1 Pokemon you could acquire in this game. Which is such an interesting thing to me, because they do so much like nostalgia jerking about Gen 1, that the fact that they don't have any Pokemon you could catch from there, you could battle, sure, but they're not like the Shadow Pokemon. It's just amazing to me.
Right, and I think that was a sign of things to come, because I'm pretty sure 2004 is the same year Fire Red and Leaf Green released. I can't remember the exact date, but this is
September 9th is when Fire Red and Leaf Green came out. I remember the TV ads so vividly.
Yeah, so that was probably a sign. Good.
Before Fire Red and Leaf Green, there was no way to trade your Pokemon from Gen 2 to Gen 1, right?
Gen 1 or Gen 2 to Gen 3.
There's no way to
there is no way to transfer from Gen 2 to Gen 3 legitimately.
But wasn't this a bridge?
This was a bridge for the Gen 3 games, but not the Gen 2.
Yeah,
Gen 2 to Gen 3, there's
no physical way
there wasn't a way until Fire Red and Leaf Green, right?
Yeah.
No. Well, you still can't transfer Gen 2 to Gen 3.
But you could get those Pokemon in Colosseum and Gen 1.
You get them from there because those are Gen 3 games, but there's no way to go from a Game Boy Color to a Game Boy Advance. There's no way. They have no way of doing that. So it's totally just locked. That's it. So that's why, like, a Ribbon Challenge, for example, or things like that, you have to start in Gen 3. I mean, of course, that's when the Ribbon started, but you can't bring a Pokemon that you had from Gen 1 all the way over to Gen 3. You can't physically do that.
No. But, like we said, it's kind of a sign of things to come, and it's funny that they did this then, because, obviously there's no way to get most of the Johto Pokemon if you own Ruby and Sapphire, and not only that, but also the first generation of Pokemon. But then they came out with Colosseum, and then they filled in the rest of the gap with Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green, with Fire Red's post game in the Sevi Islands, as well as Emerald's Safari Zone. And that was like how you could catch them all, because that's our catchphrase, right? You just catch them all.
That's the attention to detail as well. That's so great too, where they actually cared about making sure that you got all of them. I mean, granted, you have to pay a lot of money to get all the games and stuff, but they actually went out of their way to do that and say, "Oh, you can't get these unless you have the Gen 1 game. Sorry." Like, it was it was cool that they actually did something cool.
But now it's like, if you want to catch them all, middle finger to your face, buy the DLC, and then even then
you don't get all of them.
To be fair though, there's 1,000+ Pokemon now.
Also, I mean, if they're going to be programming that many Pokemon, then they should be having them all in there. I mean, because every Pokemon is somebody's favorite, and the fact that a whole bunch of them are still getting excluded is just frustrating. I mean, in a way, they were doing only 60 Pokemon or so Gen 6, Gen 7, so there wasn't as many. But, I mean, all of them are important in their own way. I mean, whether you're using them or not, it's just, it adds more to the world and makes it more full. They put so much focus on certain Pokemon. They put so much focus on, Charmander, Charizard, and Pikachu, and whatever.
Those are fan favorites. I'm sorry if your Stunfisk is your favorite.
If you have Stunfisk as your favorite, by the way, go fuck yourself.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
That's it.
We have 1,000+ Pokemon. We have 1,000+ Pokemon, and I don't know if a Keys really should be a Pokemon. I don't know if I really want to go throw a Pokeball and have some ice cream cones pop out. I'm okay. I'm okay with cutting some.
Bro,
Yeah.
when they
That's
showed
what I'm
off,
saying.
I don't know. It's just the principle of it.
when
That's
the
how I
models were
see
still
it.
the same from Sun and Moon to Sword and Shield, I was like, get the fuck out of here. Fucking,
Yeah.
oh, it's too hard to do 1,000 Pokemon, but
So
they're using the
lazy.
same shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not to
they're
mention,
just lazy.
I do have a Reddit post. I might ask Alex to put it in post, but like, even when they did the Sword and Shield DLC, the first one, the Isle of Armor, and you could transfer the Alolan Pokemon over. I did that. So in Sword and Shield, when you're in the box, like they have the sprite icon for the Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
The ones for the Alolan ones were straight ripped from Sun and Moon, so they were
Really?
like visibly smaller as opposed to like the regular ones that were in the game.
Really? I didn't
So
know
I
that.
I even have them next to each other. So there's regular Ninetales, which is a huge sprite, and then Alolan Ninetales, which is compressed as fuck. Like it's straight from the 3DS.
Oh my god! I
Same
didn't
thing with-
know that.
Same thing with Raichu and Alolan Raichu. It's like super compressed and small.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a little
Because
funny.
I know they reuse models like no other, especially for Pokemon, but for characters as well. Like because I always joke about it on here, but like the Hop animation, like how from Sun and Moon and Hop in Sword and Shield, where they do like that kind of thing. Like they just copy the animation over, just put a different skin on it, and then just call it a new character. Where there's so many characters that do like the same exact animations, it's just cheap and lazy. Yet they gather billions of dollars every year in revenue from their product, and they're
Why
putting
change?
out this half-ass shit games.
Hey, if they make billions of dollars doing minimal effort, like why change?
I know exactly. That's the argument to it. Where like if you see it from their side, it's like we're getting so much money. Like why should we care? Like we're gonna be spending more to get the same amount of sales out of it. It's like, yeah. But I'm sure that I don't know if Scarlet and Violet sales have diminished since then either, on like if it's been doing worse. I know that the sales at first were amazing, but with all the negative press that they got and like all the negative reviews, I don't know if that like unsold the game to people.
I'm sure they're fine. And I
Yeah,
think
they're
DLCs
fine, but
DLCs will definitely, people will buy it.
Let's get back on track there a little bit.
Sorry for
with
that,
Colosseum.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're babblers. That's what we do.
Yeah, so originally this story was supposed to be like extremely dark. I mean, you are very clearly not a good person, just like design wise.
Yeah.
And the fact that
You're like
stealing
Falco.
Pokemon.
You're an asshole, but you're aligned good now, at least. But
Right. I mean, it sucks. It sucks that we didn't get the dark version of this game, especially because we'll get to it in the XD episode because that just would have been insane. But insanely good, not insanely bad. But yes, you play as Wes, you steal the Snag'em machine, and I guess that after you stole it, the player is just supposed to assume like, oh well, I guess I just won't steal people's Pokemon unless I have a reason to, because you battle some guy with 2 6. It's not like you'd want to anyway.
Yeah.
To catch them, but you literally
I've
like the
always
first
wanted to
battle in the
steal
game.
someone's Pokemon.
yeah.
Well,
How
I
many times have you gone in Gen 1 and Gen 2 and someone has a Venusaur out of nowhere that you can't get, and you just throw a Pokeball and then the trainer bats it away and goes, you can't steal people's Pokemon. Like,
Or
do that, but not
when you
for
go
the
on
Zigzagoons.
Nugget Bridge, you go on Nugget Bridge in Gen 1, and they're like, how would you like to join Team Rocket? I'm
join
like,
Team
yes,
Rocket. I'm
please.
spamming that yes. It never, they don't let me join.
Yeah.
No,
And
don't tell me,
so-
Bono, don't ever tell me again that I want to not steal someone's Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Let
what
me
I'm
be
saying
an
is that, like, in
asshole.
that situation, because, like, you steal the machine, you have the capability to do it, and the first guy you battle, you just don't steal. You don't steal his Pokemon.
Well,
I mean, like I said,
Zigzagoons
there's
go on,
Zigzagoons.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Although one might, I mean, you could get pickup, and then if you train it, you can get some
Right.
pretty good items. I don't know.
So
I think
you do
Earthquake
that.
from that.
I think you can. Yeah, it's like very rare.
Yeah.
But I guess you ran out of gas peeling out of Team Snagup's hideout, so you have to stop at a rest stop, and it's part of the lore of the Ori region is that there's no wild Pokemon. So you talk to the shop owner, and he just says like, oh yeah, we don't keep Pokeballs in stock, but hey, I just so happen to have a couple under the desk here, and you go ahead and buy them. I guess that's also why you can't use them. But you also see two guys. I can't remember what their name. I think it's like Tracy and Foley or something.
It sounds familiar.
I don't
And-
know names
Yeah.
at all.
I'm
Good luck.
trusting you on this. I didn't write anything about the story because I thought
I mean,
you'd just go full
click
like.
on the walkthrough. You can see their names direct translated from Japanese. But yeah, they're driving a truck, which is a hover truck because that's fucking Pokemon's hella cool.
Mhm.
And they have a bag in the back that's kind of like wiggling, and you follow them to the next city, which is Phoenix City. I don't know why you follow them. You just do, and you follow them there. And then you see that the bag actually starts talking, and you realize that they're kidnapping somebody. So then you choose to battle them, to beat them handily. Also, I think, for the bag, and secure the bag. And I guess we could chime in right now that every battle in this game is a double battle.
Yep.
Which was, I think, a really cool design.
It's a really cool design, very cool choice, and it's insanely popular because it's like the standard for competitive battling. What, in 2004 or 2003 is when the games were released, so almost 20 years ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like the standard format.
It makes you think differently. It makes you think not just like, oh, it's rock, paper, scissors, like, oh, I'm using this, and it's good against this. Like, you're thinking like, okay, if I use this move on this one, what am I doing with this one? Is it going to be a support? Is it going to be attacking? Like, what am I doing?
Right. So, yeah, that was a stylistic choice for this game. Very appropriate. I also think it would have been like extremely boring if it was just 1v1 Pokemon, especially considering, it's a new system, it's a 3D Pokemon game, and we're only showcasing one Pokemon. Not to mention double battles were introduced in Generation 3, so I feel like this is like more of a showcase, and I think it just, we're singing its praise. It adds to the game so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
It does get a little bit drawn out when you start fighting trainers that have 6 Pokemon, but those aren't like every battle.
Do you think that it went double battles just because if the 6th Pokemon was a Shadow Pokemon, you caught it, then it would end. The battle would end then, and it's kind of like an anticlimactic way of finishing the battle.
Yeah, as if you just waste all of his other ones and then just catch that one.
Yeah.
Perhaps, but yeah,
at least in a double battle, if you catch, even if it is his last Pokemon, you can technically still have one more out.
He probably recognizes that the Shadow would be the ace.
Right, and I think they do that. I think that's how they construct like the battles. Like, even if you catch the Pokemon, it's still like not a challenging fight. Well, some of them are challenging, but not like it's not a wash. Like, if you catch the Pokemon, like, you're not just gonna rinse the dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so anyway,
should we talk about Wes's design real quick?
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Love it, dude.
Yeah, like the trench coat.
White hair was an interesting choice, I think, because
not to mention his I don't know if it's sunburn or like he has a tattoo like going a line across his face. I don't know if you could zoom in on it. Also, his platform boots.
Yeah,
love the platform
boot.
Yeah. He's probably that 5'10", just so insecure. He's like, I gotta hit that 6 foot.
And then also there's the snagging machine on his left arm right there, as you can see the shoulder guard with like the little, I don't know what you'd call it, like the glove, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a gauntlet.
Yeah, is holding, and then that's what makes the Pokeballs into snagging balls, and it has like a really cool animation. You see like a big old hand like encompass the ball. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah. So this bag that you secure has a living creature in it, a human being, a girl.
I thought you were going to say a girl.
It has a girl in the bag, a character named Rui, who becomes like your companion character, and she could sense when a Pokemon has a shadow aura on them. And
she doesn't reveal that just yet, but she does say like she saw them have some funny Pokemon, and that they attacked people.
Yeah,
and that she entices you to go and find the people that you just beat as they ran off somewhere. And so you search the town, and eventually you find them in the mayor's office with probably the best character. And Alex, you got to cut in like the Mirror Bee theme music right here. Yeah. The best character to ever be introduced into a Pokemon game. Mirror Bee, who's an admin for an evil organization that we don't know the name of yet. Who is this guy?
Didn't we just say Team Snag'em?
But he's not part of Team Snag'em.
He's not a rapper.
No, he's not a rapper. So he's this guy with an afro with red and white. It goes zigzag. He has the most awesome music ever. Yeah. And he looks like a dancer.
Yeah, like a total just disco 70s dancer.
Yeah, disco 70s dancer. And so you meet him. He does his stuff. He makes like a huge impact on the game. And then disappears, and then you have to battle. I can't remember the names. Trudy and Foley or whatever. Insert generic villain names here. They're the only like people with part of the team that have like they have like their own models, because every other model is just like just the same.
Yeah.
So you battle them, and then that's when Rui says that the Makuhita that you fight in the battle has this purple aura around it, and it's different from other ones. And I think it actually hits you in the game to like showcase that shadow Pokemon are dangerous, and Wes actually has like a a hurt animation that you never see again.
Wait, really? He actually
Yeah.
hits.
It actually hits him. Yeah.
That.
Mm-hmm.
It actually hits him, and you can see him like do like a step back kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
then he hits the Makahita back.
Yeah, it only lasts that one frame. It never attacks you again. But so then you have to. She's like, try catching it, and lo and behold, you have the snagging machine. And the funny thing about the Makahita is that it's 100% catch, so you can't fail it. Like you don't even have to weaken it. You just throw a Pokeball at it, and it's 100% catch rate.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd have to. I mean, if you failed the first one, then you'd probably be like, I don't like this game anymore. And then...
Yeah, exactly. Right. They probably do that for like newcomers.
We'll get to it at some point. Oh, I'll say we get to it at some point, but I guess this is where I get start. So there is a little bit of a thing with this game that's become notorious among shiny hunters far and wide, is that you can actually catch these all shadow Pokemon as shiny Pokemon in this game. The way it works, I don't know how it works code wise because it's ridiculous. The way it works is that when they throw out, they're a set Pokemon. They're whatever it is. The shininess doesn't get generated until you actually catch that Pokemon. So if you go into this battle, a lot of the way this hunt is set up, at least for the Makuhita, is you put one of your two Pokemon away, either Umbreon or Espeon in the PC, and then you get into this fight. And you fight the guy. I think you bring Espeon along because he has Grimer and Zubat, and I think it knows Confusion, so you could like do this really easily. And so you knock out one, he throws out Makuhita, you just throw whatever at it. I think you can only get Premier Ball and a Pokeball and one Great Ball from an item box. Like, that's all you can get at this point. And so you throw it, you catch it, and then, obviously, once you catch it, it generates all of its stats and stuff like that. And then, because it's a double battle, you only have one Pokemon out, you just gotta do Pokemon, right? So you'll toss out the Makuhita, and then, once it's released, from there, you can see that it's shiny. Yeah, and the shiny animation is really cool.
It sparkles like crazy.
Yeah, it has like a giant like ring of almost like kind of like how the Sony like that intro scene for the PlayStation where like all the things like come together. Yeah. Or like they have that little like blue light whenever I don't know if you get to like the root menu or you have like a load error. Mm-hmm. It looks like that, but it's orange and it like spreads out from the Pokemon.
Yeah, like the system settings basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so that's how you would hunt shiny Pokemon in this game.
That's so
odd.
But
it's only every time that you catch it is when it's generated. So you have to catch them in order to check. And they'll never be shiny when they first appear. And then also, if you, for somehow... later, it's a lot more... It can happen a lot more. If you don't catch it and you try to catch it a second time, it won't be shiny, no matter what.
Oh, really?
Huh. Yeah. So it can only be shiny the first time you encounter it.
So you basically have to save before you go into this battle.
Basically. Well, for this one as an example, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you knock out the Makuhita and and you try to encounter it again, because thankfully they'll let you try to do it again, it won't be shiny.
Huh.
No matter what. I don't know what it is in the code that locks it up like that, but I guess that's what it is.
What about the Ho-Oh?
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it, but shiny locks don't exist until Gen 5, so it could be possible. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on that. I think it might just be standard
live every day until you get shiny Ho-Oh.
Right? Honestly, that should be your life's goal at that point. Get a shiny Ho-Oh from Colosseum.
Right. But a number of these hunts are notorious. I've seen a lot of people do the Entei. After you beat these guys and catch the shiny Makuhita, there's 3 grunts that actually guard the exits to the city, and they're red, blue, and green. I know we talked about you don't get a starter in this game, but you do get the mid form of the Johto starters from fighting one of them. You can only get one as of now. Yeah. You get Bayleaf, Quilava, and Croconaw. And obviously it's color-coded, so whoever you decide to fight is the one
obviously you're picking Quilava.
Is the one you'll get the chance to do it, yeah. And so people have done that. I've seen people go like 3,000. I've seen people go 10,000 resets fighting against the Quilava. And, I've seen people have it down to like a science where they know like the exact math of how much a Confusion can possibly do to the Quilava. And like, do stuff like that.
I mean, when you do it 10,000 times, like
Yeah,
Right.
you're gonna
kind of have to
get
build a
it.
strat.
Right. Not to mention, like it carries over the catch rate from the regular game. So like I don't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure starters catch rate is not very good. So like you have to weaken it and you have to do all that stuff just to catch it. And I'm pretty sure like you have to have like more than one Pokemon to do that, because sometimes it randomizes the battle rotation. So sometimes it'll start with a Quilava, and sometimes Quilava will be the last Pokemon out, which makes the hunts like even longer. But it is possible. Only
so
in
wild.
Colosseum, which is we'll say that next E.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to show those pictures now or you want to show them later, but there are a couple of the Colosseum Pokemon, especially when it comes to the shinies, that are a little bit odd or off because they didn't change the models. They
Right.
just put a shader over them. And I think now is a good time to mention that all of the Gen 1 through Gen 2 models are just ported from Stadium.
Yeah, they just literally just copy pasted the models, which I mean, it makes sense for efficiency, especially if they're on a time crunch. But it's so funny to see them, like they're slightly better textures, but the animations and everything are the exact same for the
Right.
Gen 1 to Gen 2.
And
Then
this is
Gen
another
3 they had
thing.
to do all new ones, which I mean obviously makes sense because there weren't any before. But also when you mentioned the shiny Pokemon that were just off, like I didn't know about that with some of the shiny Pokemon looking just a little bit strange, to say the least. Like the Heracross one just looks fake to me. Like it just
Right,
looks
the
so fake.
Yeah, I think the
Heracross
Heracross is
looks-
a prime example.
Yeah.
Because shiny Heracross is pink, but this one, I guess the model is
Yeah,
dark
it's
blue,
like-
obviously, and then
yeah,
just put a
it's-
pink shader over it.
Yeah, and like the weird like green eyes on it is just weird, man.
Yeah. Another thing to talk about with that is that when you see the Pokemon there, the icons, they all have like specific icons for the Pokemon. Like you can see like a little close up of their face, or like with Umbreon, I think it's its eye, like just staring forward. The shiny icons are different, like completely, and it's not just like, oh, the colors are different. No, they're doing like completely different animations, like when they take those icon shots.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they'll have like, I think Quilava has like its mouth closed in its regular one, but its mouth open in the in shiny. Same thing with Croconaw. I believe Croconaw is just like standing stoically, but the shiny one will have like its mouth open, like it's about to bite.
Interesting. I mean, I
So
haven't
that's-
looked too far into like shiny Pokemon in Colosseum, but that's an interesting fact.
Oh, why would you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but yeah, that is pretty cool. So if you're like trying to get as fast as possible, you can just like do your if it's not like, you know, where you're just with one Pokemon, you can like check your start menu, look at the Pokemon if it's not reset. But it is like a visual thing, especially like if you're doing multi hunts and you have like 4 at once. It's very noticeable compared to the rest of them.
that's so cool. Dang. Yeah, I want to look into that. I want to see like the little thumbnails that they have on those.
Right. So, I
yeah,
wouldn't
and they're-
recommend it, not unless you could like run like 8 copies of
Yeah.
Colosseum at once.
Yeah. Yeah,
Make it bearable.
I would never shiny hunt in one of those games. That just seems like just such a brutal task. But to those that are, like, kudos to you. But I
Yeah,
I don't
I'd
have the
recommend going to
willpower.
see a video because it's like really cool to see a shiny shadow Pokemon. But other than that, you get any of your starters from Fenax City, and then I'm kind of rusty on the details, but
Yeah.
I guess we could hit like the main beats of the story.
Yeah.
With the capture of the shiny shadow Pokemon, Rui kind of mentions that she was trying to get to her grandfather who lives in Agate Village, and so eventually you make your trip there and encounter the team, a different team from Team Snag'em that's there trying to destroy a relic that's in the city, or it's in this town. It's like a very cool town, by the way. It's like a hilly area with grass, moss, and water, and a big old like dead tree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
it's
get-
like
yeah,
Zelda,
Great
The-
Deku Tree.
Great Deku Tree. I think I was like, I'm blanking.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a very, very cool map, and especially like if you're trying to find all like little secrets on it, you kind of have to you have to work with the 3D environment on there too, where it's not
Right.
as straightforward as like, oh, you just go left, you go right. It's like no, you have to go around this this tree trunk, like this little branch, and then you could go on a little pathway down over here, and then you find like an item.
Yeah,
It's
like there'll
there's
be an
really
item
cool
that's in
stuff
like an
that.
obvious spot, but like the way to get there is like behind buildings and stuff like that.
Really cool.
And so you get there just as this guy is about to destroy the relic, and he beats Rui's grandpa, who has nothing but a Pikachu. And people have speculated that I think his name is Eugene or Eugun or something like that. It's not like it's not like a real name. It's like like a letter off.
Yeah,
people are like,
people
are like, oh, it's red because he has a level up Pikachu.
I want to say that as well, of like the names that they give these characters in Colosseum and XD are like, it's like they just go into a random letter generator and then just throw something in there. It's like, okay, give me like 5 letters, give me 6 letters, and like that's a name, and it's just, and everything is just so slightly off. It just, I remember doing the Mount Battle Challenge in XD, and it was pissing me off because our names were just like so close to being like, for example, like Eugene, but there's not the E at the end, so it's like Eugun or. Like, it'd be like Bill, and it'd be like B-I-L. I'm like, Bill.
I also think the guy that is trying to destroy the relic in a gate village is actually named Scrub, like S-K-R-U-B. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Scrub.
Yeah, I don't want no Scrub.
And he has probably one of the best Shadow Pokemon in this game, Shadow Bob and Weave.
Oh, Bob and Weave.
Let's go, Bob and Weave.
Shout out to Bob and Weave.
And so you save the relic, and as it turns out, this relic it's actually been like visited or blessed by Celebi somehow. And it actually has the power to purify a Shadow Pokemon so that it can go back to being a regular Pokemon, because the gimmick with Shadow Pokemon is that Shadow Pokemon can use Shadow moves. I think on the main screen you can see it there with Makuhita. It knows Shadow Rush, which has a set attack stat, but it's also super effective against every type. So a Shadow Pokemon, which is like insane if they did that for like the regular competitive environment, if that had become like a main staple of the series going forward,
it'd break everything.
It would break everything. But yeah, so it's super effective against every type. However, each time it attacks, it does a recoil damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you take damage, and then also Shadow Pokemon can go into a rage mode where they won't follow commands. And there's a special feature of this game where you have a call function where you'll like call the Pokemon and be like, "Hey, Makuhita, like pay attention."
Yeah.
And it'll snap out of rage mode, and then it can go back to using regular moves and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it has actually, so when it's a Shadow Pokemon, so you'll see, instead of an experience gauge, you'll see a heart gauge, which is something that you have to do to, like, if you're trying to help the Shadow Pokemon, you're trying to purify them, basically, or opening their heart's door, that you have to, like, if they enter rage mode, calling them will help lower that heart gauge a lot. So you basically have to take it from full to 0 to get it at least ready for purifying. And so it's a pretty useful feature to like help with that, at least, is like the call function.
Yeah, and as the shadow gauge or heart gauge goes down, gradually the Pokemon will be able to use regular moves. I think like the first move it can relearn is like Vital Throw.
Yeah.
And then those moves, regardless of the Shadow Pokemon's type, will just be regular. So if it hits a Rock type, it's super effective, stuff like that. And I believe even if it's a Shadow type, it still retains its original typing. So Psychic moves will still like decimate Makuhita, as using it as an example and stuff like that. But like the Shadow move itself will do the damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it'll be super effective no matter what. So anyway. I believe that's you purify it. I think we might have skipped over it has like the dopest theme music. It's the city with Pyrite.
Yeah.
Pyrite City.
Pyrite Town. Yeah.
With the snapping. Yeah. Because I think by the time you get to a gate village, you're supposed to have like a couple Shadow Pokemon, especially that you can like that you can purify by then.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway. So I think about leading up to that, you're like challenging all the Colosseum. So then eventually you get to a gate village. You find out that you can purify the Shadow Pokemon using the relic. And
it's also the only way to make the Pokemon evolve too, right?
Yeah, because when you catch the Shadow Pokemon, they're set at their level until they can be purified. Then they gain all the experience that they would have gained at once. So like if you do Makuhita, you could get it to like level 20 something. It won't evolve unless you like really get lucky with it or use it the entire way. I don't think it can evolve. But yeah, they'll essentially be stuck at that level until they get purified. So there is that. Like I said, I'm just like searching my head for story bits.
Yeah. But also other ways, at least while Bon was thinking about that, other ways to purify Pokemon, there are items called scents, which, I mean, there's
Cologne.
like potions to help with like with like healing Pokemon's health, but this is to like lower the heart gauge even more, so you can use that.
And cost money.
Yeah, there is an item I didn't know about called the Time Flute, which will instantly purify one Pokemon, which is just kind of insane. Again, I didn't finish this game.
I think there are two Time Flutes in Colosseum. I'm not entirely sure. I think you get one as kind of like a Master Ball reward, and then another one you have to go and find.
Yeah, so that's just insane. I didn't realize that was a thing. And so once you purify them, so once they're ready to be purified, you take them to the Relic Castle or the Relic Stone in Agate Village, and there's a Celebi that's over there that will purify the Pokemon for you.
Yeah,
but you have to have it. Yeah, exactly. It taunts you because you will not get it unless you're in Japan, because their pre-order disc had Celebi on there. We didn't get that. We got Jirachi.
Yeah, they also get a Master Ball like halfway through the game, an extra one. Bastards.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't get a Celebi distribution until I think Crystal on the Virtual Console. I think. Yeah, that was the first time that we officially got Celebi over here.
Yeah, because like I was saying earlier, all the Shadow Pokemon retain their catch rates, so there are some that are like ridiculous to catch, like the Metagross. Spoiler alert: there's a shiny Metagross or Shadow Metagross. Yeah. So with
it could be shiny.
Yeah, it could be shiny. With the Master Ball, it makes that hunt so much easier, and the fact that the Japanese version of the game gets a second Master Ball makes like so many hunts that you can do like infinitely easier. So a lot of people that run this look for like either the Japanese version. Also, the Japanese version has a different intro, like completely from the American version. Like very like in terms of like the starting screen. Like I think Colosseum would just start like the Colosseum's there, and then like the Pokemon and Colosseum logos start. Yeah. Whereas in the Japanese version, you could get video for this, but like the Colosseum actually like rises out of the sand. As like the start, and then it does all that stuff, and then like the Nintendo logo is blue in the Japanese one, where it's red in the American version.
Interesting.
It's really cool.
Also, another thing that I found that was interesting about Colosseum, just a random aside, is that on the box art they show Groudon and Kyogre, but those Pokemon are not acquirable in this game at all, and the only way to use them in Colosseum is to transfer them from Ruby and Sapphire. So that was kind of misleading, to say the least.
I think it's a marketing thing for kids, because also the dogs are on there, but it's like, or legendary beasts. My brother, not dogs.
But you could catch them in the game though.
You can. Yeah. I think it's just like to show kids that it can be, or they can be accessed or something like that.
I guess.
Or they're connected to Ruby and Sapphire in some way. But
it's such a stretch though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But gradually, as you catch more shiny Shadow Pokemon, you realize that they're being put out there by a different organization, or a different evil organization from Team Snag'em called Team Cypher. And Cypher is misspelt too. It's a CIPHER. And it turns out...
Or no, Cypher is spelled with a Y usually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could be spelled both ways. I'm not sure. But yeah, so you find out that Team Cypher is the one that's manufacturing these Shadow Pokemon. As it turns out, Mirror B is an admin in Team Cypher, and you battle him. I can't remember what his shiny shadow Pokemon is, but he has a team of Ludicolo's, which is ridiculously fun to fight against because the music's playing the entire time, and then
it's like the dancing character with the
there's stupid animation the entire time. You also fight against this other admin who controls this underground city underneath Pyrite Town called the Under, which is supposed to be like a secret area like that you can only access by.
That's after you beat the Power Rangers, right?
Yeah, I know the Power Rangers are in XD.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Power Rangers are in XD.
Power Rangers are in XD.
Can't confirm.
But yeah, so you get there and you fight this admin, and she's like controlling like the Under with like this news system and stuff like that. Basically, it's like a criminal underworld, and she's just like calls you out like, "Hey, arrest, like fight this guy and bring him to me." Instead, you win the Colosseum and then go bust into her place. And I believe I think the first one is we'll get to that after I do that. But I think there's 4 admins actually, right? Mirror B, that girl, the monkey guy, and the scientist. Yeah, there's 4 admins. Mirror B is one of them. But the first admin I think you actually fight is like this dude who looks like Alder before Alder was a thing. And he fights one of the Mount Battle leaders who's like the only named one out of them, like that has like something to do with it. I think his name is Vander. is is like the level 10 leader in Mount Battle, which is a thing we'll get into after that. But you fight him, and he's one of the first admins that throws a legendary beast at you out of nowhere, and you have to fight an Entei out of left field, shiny or Shadow Entei.
That's how you know this game does not mess around, dude.
Yeah, that was just the first welcome to Pokemon Colosseum, bitch.
Right. And I think that we can start with that, this the difficulty level, especially when it comes to because there's difficulty when it comes to the levels, and it's just all around, because you have a tiny selection of Pokemon, only 48 Pokemon that you can get. Not to mention you're locked to the Pokemon that you can get. Not even all 48 of them. You just get them at certain intervals. Mm-hmm. Heracross is a great Pokemon, but you don't get it until the very last level of the game.
No, I'm pretty sure everyone has an Ampharos, because that's literally the only Mareep is the only electric Pokemon you can have throughout the entire game.
I think it's Flaffy, actually. Isn't it shiny?
Oh yeah,
Flaffy?
it might be Flaffy. Yeah, it's
also,
Shadow Flaffy.
I think, remembering now, that might have been where I stopped playing, was the Entei battle. I think that's where I stopped playing as a kid, because I remember it was just too difficult for me and I gave up.
You guys, it's too hot. Stay out of the kitchen, Alex.
Yeah, it was. But you're mentioning it now, and I'm thinking I should play this again. I should play it on. I should play it on. 100%. I should play it on. I should play it on.
I'll say this right now. I'll save you however many minutes that this episode's gonna run for. Just stop listening and go play Colosseum however you can. Legit. Pause this video. Close this browser.
I play it on twitch.tv/Shaheener. Link down below.
Do whatever you can. Cut, steal.
Colosseum is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Rob. Play this game however you can. It is 100% worth your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the difficulty is everywhere, from the double battles to the limited Pokemon to because you don't want to not catch the shadow Pokemon when they're presented to you. It's it entices you to get it, because they're not necessary to progress, or at least they might be. I'm not sure. I think some of the Colosseums might hard lock you. You have to have a certain.
I think you had to have a
Pokemon.
certain. Yeah, I think you have to have a certain amount.
I think that's the Pirate Colosseum that makes you, because I think you can go back and rebattle those trainers in the circle over and over again, and you have to catch the shadow Pokemon they have. So at least I think those are those ones. But later on, you don't need them to progress. You can just knock them out if you wanted to. So yeah, you go to Mount Battle because you hear about this guy. You have to act, and he needs help, right? So he's getting assaulted. And you actually still have to go through Mount Battle to actually go to help him. I don't remember his name, but let me see if I can find it. Cypher Admin Dakim, yeah, Dakim. So you have to do that, and then eventually you beat him and he runs away. But that's the beginning of the first thing of Team Cypher. But if you want to stop, we can talk about Mount Battle. Or did you want to go through the story and then we could talk about Mount Battle?
Let's talk about Mount Battle at the end. Let's continue with the story. Let's keep that track going.
All right, Patrick. I don't know if you know, but you're in the presence of 2 Mount Battle champions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're both Mount Battle veterans. Not only that.
Oh, you did it for the ribbon, didn't you?
Yeah. I had to do that for the Earth ribbon.
Mount Battle champion.
Wait, Bono, did you get the Earth ribbon on yours, or did you did you save or change your team?
I just played on Colosseum, but I went through it. Patrick can attest to this. I went through it all in one sitting with the exact same team all the way through.
Okay, so you did get the Earth ribbon then. Okay, cool.
I don't know.
That's a requirement for the Earth ribbon. Is that you go through it basically without changing your team at all.
Is it on Colosseum?
Yeah, it's on Colosseum. So, yeah,
right,
you
can take over the Mount Battle thing, and I can check on my micro.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm versed with. So there's a game feature within story mode called Mount Battle. So it's a 100 battle gauntlet, and you usually go in bouts of 10. You can stop pretty much at any point. But you just battle trainers where they go from weaker to stronger to stronger to stronger. They don't get to level 100 teams or anything. I think the strongest they get is level 70.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they really don't get that strong.
It's really not that difficult. Especially if you have a level 100 team with you, you could sweep through this no problem. It's just time consuming. It took me 4 hours to go through it in one sitting. I did it on July 4th of 2022. I remember that specifically because, 4th of July, I was might as well, instead of blowing up fireworks, I might as well just play Pokemon like a man-child. And so, so I remember Dennis was in the chat with me too. He was there pretty much the whole time.
Dennis.
Patrick, were you there?
I might have been for a little bit. I can't remember exactly.
Right.
Dennis, my friend Dennis.
Yeah, so I had to do that for my ribbon challenge. And so there's a special ribbon you get in here where if you don't change your Pokemon at all, and you do the 100 battles in a row, then you get an Earth ribbon. Basically a special ribbon you attach to your Pokemon. But also there's an extra thing too if you win it. So in Colosseum, you are given a Ho-Oh for completing Mount Battle. Or actually, no, sorry, that's for purifying all the Pokemon. My bad. It took me about like 4 hours, but I just brought in team level 100s because I was able to transfer my team over after beating the game.
I think when you do it, you have they like scale, so it's like the highest level Pokemon you have. So I think when I did it, it was like 56, or might have been something higher than that. It was like my highest Pokemon.
Yeah. Because when I did it with level 100s, like, it didn't scale or anything. It was just, like, the fixed levels as it was. And I think the highest level I battled was around, like, level 70 or so at the end.
Did you do it in the story mode or the Colosseum mode?
I did it in story mode.
Okay, because I did it in Colosseum mode, because that's how you get Ho-Oh. You have to do it in Colosseum mode.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe that's why I didn't get the ribbon.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have to look into it. We can do an addendum right here as to why.
Yeah, but also, what was it? I forgot to mention as well with purifying Shadow Pokemon, you get another ribbon. Basically, if you're starting a ribbon challenge, your first ribbon will be the National Ribbon, which is acquired when you purify the Pokemon. It's just on there automatically. You get a ribbon for just purifying. So, yeah, that's usually how you get to start with it. But,
oh, dummy. Now I remember what Mirror B had. It's a Pseudo-Oda. Mirror B had a Shadow Pseudo-Oda.
Yeah.
It makes sense with the maracas and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And so, Bono, if you want to continue with the story.
Yeah, actually, if we rewind after Finax City, I remember now, you go to Pyrite City because you hear rumors that there's like a Colosseum there and they're offering a Shadow Pokemon as a reward. And so, obviously, they say you have to have a team of 6 to enter the tournament to win. Mm-hmm. And so you have to battle some trainers in like the outside of the city in the square, who all have a shiny or a shadow Pokemon, a shadow Pokemon, and so you beat a number of them and either catch all or some of them, and then you win the circuit, and then they tell you to go to this building and they let you in, and then there's just a gauntlet of trainers. And you have to go through, beat all of them, catch all their the shadow Pokemon, until eventually you see that the leader who's supposed to give you your prize is Mirror B of all people.
Yeah.
But he recognizes you from Finax City, and then you get into a battle with him and defeat him, and then he walks off in a huff, and then that's when you get the notice from Vander that he's getting attacked by some guy at Mount Battle. You have to battle through 10 trainers to get to him. And then you have to fight the Entei, do that, and then from there, you have to go. They hear some more rumors in Pyrite City of the Undercity, so you have to go down into the Under, and you see that, like I said, it's like being controlled by the Lady Venus, I think is her name, and so you work together with like a group of kids to like hijack her signal or like find where the signal's coming from, and there's like this really dumb puzzle where it's like there's the city and then there's like this massive pit, because I guess like the Under was supposed to be like a mine that they were like, that's why the city's theirs. It was like an abandoned mine, and it has like this floating platform that only goes backwards and forwards, and then every time you want to do it, you have to put like the disc in the thing and then get on the thing and then it moves.
That's so dumb.
And then that's how it's like locked. And it's like once you find like the R disc, which moves to the right, that's how you get to Admin Venus. And so you interrupt Venus's broadcast midway through and battle her when she does her Suicune, and then you either catch it or you don't catch it. And then she decides to flee, and then you have to chase her like down this staircase where it's like a trainer at like every single stop, and then you realize she gets on a train. And then where the train goes, and then from there, you go to where the Shadow Pokemon are coming from, which is the Shadow Research Institute, where the Shadow Pokemon are being manufactured, and you battle your way through there. A bunch of Cypher peons. At this point, I believe you know full well that it's Cypher, and I think at some point in the Under too, you actually decode a disc that has a list of all the Shadow Pokemon, so that way you could check like your Pokedex for this game and see if you actually caught all the Shadow Pokemon. And I think like if you skip a trainer, you'll see just and let's say you skip a trainer but you catch the next Shadow Pokemon, it'll have like question marks. So that way you like, oh, I missed one, and you have to go back and then find it. Eventually, you make your way down to the bottom of the Shadow Research Institute, where you battle Cypher Admin Ein, who has the Raikou, which is awesome because I think that, like, this scientist, he has like this like lightning bolt kind of like hair thing and whatnot. And all the while you're going back and forth between Ore, there's like this like tower being built, which is supposed to be like the new Colosseum, which is supposed to like bring a bunch of people here. It's called Realgam Tower. And after everything's said and done, that's where you end up going. And so you battle through Realgam Tower, catch more Shadow Pokemon, have to find 4 different keys, battle the admins again, and then once you're there, you enter the gauntlet, which I believe is, let me see if I can find it.
My gosh, there's so many steps right there.
I know. It's you fight Team Snag'em's Gonzap again, who's to get revenge on you because you blew up his hideout and then stole his stuff. So like you steal from Team Snag'em in the beginning of this game, and then have no interaction with them until like the very end of the game. And that's so
wild.
Yeah, so he does that, and it turns out like the whole tie between Team Snag'em and Team Cypher is that Team Snag'em was stealing Pokemon, giving them to Cypher, who would then turn them into Shadow Pokemon, who would then give them back to Snag'em, or at least the shittier ones, so who then could go out and steal more Pokemon.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's a whole conspiracy, man.
Yeah, whole conspiracy. And then once you finally make your way to the top of Realgam Tower and you beat Gonzap, you have to go into a 6 battle gauntlet, back to back to back, where each of the trainers has a Shadow Pokemon, so there's like that much more pressure on you to actually catch them each battle. And they're not easy catches. It's Miltank, Absol, Houndoom, Tropius, Metagross, and then a Tyranitar.
That's insane.
Not to mention, I believe like the last 2 have a full team of 6. So it's pretty hard.
Got to be completely ready for that.
You battle the last admin, whose name is Nascor, who has like his like dark red eyes.
Eyes.
Yeah, has like Annihilate kind of hair where it's all wavy and dark. I think you meet him.
He's so evil. I love his
straight up evil.
Yeah.
And then you meet the sweet old mayor of Phoenix City, who's like this tiny little man with he has like this big old stupid mustache. And then he gets out there, and then he just starts talking shit to NASCAR that he got beat. And then it turns out he's the head of Team Cypher, and then like he does like this spin, and then like he goes hella evil and starts floating and shit. Yeah, and his team is just like hella stacked. Let me see if I can find his team.
I remember battling him in XD, and his team was just ridiculous. So, like all the birds and like all this shit. So I can only imagine what his team in Colosseum is like.
I don't think it's all that bad.
Yeah. I know the one in XD is crazy, but let's see.
Oh, and they were all Shadow Pokemon too. I remember that too vividly.
That's in
XD.
In XD, yeah. So his team is a slow King, Scizor, Machamp, Salamence, Slaking, and then Shadow Tyranitar.
Dang.
And they're all level 60. So you will have to be, like end game level for this. So it's kind of like a regular Pokemon game. You start. You don't start at level 5, I'll tell you that. But it's like a shorter experience. You go from 20 to 60.
Yeah.
From there. And so there's stuff like that. You beat Evis, and then after you beat him, Ho-Oh like flies around the Colosseum to like celebrate you defeating Team Cypher and whatnot. But yeah, that's the story in a nutshell. You go from being a thief to the savior of the region.
Yeah. You go from...
Yeah, you get the girl...
Yeah, you get the girl, you get the Shadow Pokemon, you get the Ho-Oh, and I don't know where I'm going from that.
Trust me, my explanation does not do this game justice. Like I said, way like 20 or 40 minutes ago, stop watching the episode and go play the game.
I mean, come on now, like what are you doing? Listening to this podcast and all that. But so once the game is defeated, so you could transfer your Pokemon from the Gen 3 games over if you want to use them in Colosseum, if you want to use it like in Mountain Battle and stuff like that. It also, just an aside, so if you trade Pokemon that are like National Dex Pokemon into Ruby and Sapphire, it does not unlock the National Dex. So you could transfer them, but it doesn't unlock it. So you have to go through that by the other means.
And more importantly, it doesn't restrict you from sending those Pokemon to Ruby and Sapphire at any point in the game. Like like, I think you can only do it until after you get a Pokedex, because that's when you get Pokeballs.
Yeah.
But say you want to trade over an Aerodactyl to Ruby and Sapphire and use it on a run, you can. That's why like a lot of people love doing Dream Team quests on Ruby and Sapphire, is because you can trade over whatever you want and play through the game with it.
Mm-hmm. That's sick.
So there's that. That's cool. It can be done in Fire Red, and I don't think you can do it in Emerald.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's kind of cool.
But yeah, that's why a lot of people love it. I know a lot of people have. One of the guys I was watching before was doing like a dragon run, so he had like Charizard, Dragonite, Gyarados, Aerodactyl.
Wait, Charizard's not a dragon?
I know, but like it was his thing. And then Salamence, Flygon, Altaria, and stuff like that. He was just like interchanging them, but like he did
Dragon adjacent.
Yeah. And that was cool. So that's why I really like it. And a lot of people are like, oh, I love it because you can do stuff like that. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, of course. Also in Japan, they had special e-reader cards that allowed you to get Togepi, Mareep, and Scizor, which was kind of cool. But we didn't get that over here. So,
right.
Along with Celebi, we did not get here. So, yeah. Also another... Yeah, actually, no, we went over the factoids. We pretty much went over everything about this game. Did we?
We did talk about like what Pokemon there are, but there are only 48 Pokemon, and obviously a majority of them are all Johto Pokemon.
48 Shadow Pokemon, and once you purify all of them, then you get Ho-Oh.
Yeah, not to mention like even if you, if you do it, you still there's a breeding mechanic obviously. So like you're not like if you catch Flaffy, you're not stuck with not getting Mareep or Ampharos, because you could just breed it and get the rest of them. I don't think you can catch Ditto though in Ruby and Sapphire.
Pretty sure you can't.
Yeah, so you might be stuck having to do this on Fire Red and Leaf Green. But like the ability is there, you just have to buy more stuff. Unfortunately.
Yeah, consume more product.
More product. That you can get another starter Pokemon after you beat the game. You can go back and battle one of the 3 guys, or one of the 2 because the other one's gone.
So you can actually get 2 of the 3.
Yeah, you get 2 of the 3. I think it depends on what you got. I can't remember if it's like what's weak or with the stronger one. Yeah. So you do that, and it's at a higher level, or I think it's the same level. It's still level 30.
So with all of that said, what would you guys give a rating of? Yeah, play the game. But what would you guys give a rating of for a Colosseum?
Patrick, go first.
It's definitely worth your time. It might be a little janky now, but I think if you never played it, I think you'd have a great time. I'll give it a 7.7.
Ooh.
Interesting. Not a half.
Not as high as I would have thought.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
because
it gives up perfect. I mean, there's a lot of No, I think Gil has more problem. I'm gonna bump it up a little bit. 8.2.
Okay, 8.2. I'm gonna here's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say an 8. I really wanted to give this game a 9. But like Patrick said, there are little things about this game that like drag it down. The biggest problem for me is the saving at a Pokemon Center and saving at that machine. I don't understand how we can have like the handheld game save wherever you want, and then go to this new 3D game, this completely new thing, and we can't get like the most basic of basic things down. We have to save at a specific spot, and not to mention, it's the part of the difficulty, and obviously it's the reason the game exists. But there's only 48 Pokemon. There's not that much type. There's nothing you can really do. I've seen people do runs where they use Pokemon. Obviously, like they never use. Like I've seen people do. Misdreavus, and he thought it was going to be great, and it ended up being a terrible choice. There's just not that much mix-up. It's usually like obviously Umbreon and Espeon and a starter, and then like it goes anywhere between. Like obviously the legendary beasts are good, and it's just like there's not that many that are great. I mean, you get Vibrava, but that's like so much later. And there's just like not that strong Pokemon in the beginning, so.
Like I said, everyone's gonna have an Ampharos because it's just not many electric Pokemon.
Not many electric Pokemon. Plus, you need like a status inducer. You could do Jumpluff or Ampharos.
Jumpluff, baby. I think this is what my love for Jumpluff can do.
Really?
Probably.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's that. This game's not super long. I mean, it's
it really
long.
isn't.
It's long because the battles make it long, but it's not long in terms of
padded
content.
because of difficulty. Yeah,
it's not long in terms of content.
I'd probably agree with you, Bono, and give it an 8 out of 10. Like I was also thinking about giving it a 9, but like there's a lot of cracks that are in the foundation of this game. Like there's a lot of things that like slow it down. That is like, especially like not like platform, but like exploring, and you have to like again like go for like the disc to go to this direction, disc to go to this direction. That's stupid as fuck. Like there's so many more efficient ways that they could have gone about it, but also for the first time of them doing something like this and their first time working on a Pokemon game is very, very impressive. And also it looks great. And at least for the GameCube, it looks really good.
At least
I
with the
like
Gen
that they
3
have
models.
all the double. Yeah. I love the fact that everything's a double battle too. I love that they have the Jirachi as a bonus disc on there. I like that. I don't know. There's just a lot of things to love about this game, but there's also a number of things wrong. But it doesn't really take away from the fact that you're gonna have a good time playing it. I mean, replay value, I don't know, but going back, like playing it for like a first time, great, absolutely play it. Right. But there's definitely other options out there, but at least for RPGs, especially on the GameCube, there's definitely other options. But Colosseum is definitely one you should be playing for sure.
I go back. I go back to my 7.7.
You're rolling it back.
That's the way that I said it. It's just like, this is
because I agree with you. I love Colosseum so much. It's a fun game, but there's just a little tiny things that just don't make it perfect. But it doesn't need to be. And I love Colosseum for what it is.
Yeah, but a 7.7 is still a good score though. Like it's still positive. Like it's still C+.
I like to think of it as like regardless of the scores. I've said it before in a video. It's like I'll tell you whether or not this game is worth your time. Like regardless of like whatever I do, it like we'll rate it.
Absolutely.
Like the 100%. Like however you can do it, play the game. It deserves to be played. Especially if you're a Pokemon fan. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if you're like not a Pokemon fan that it's worth your time, but if you are, 100%.
I think if you're a Digimon fan, it's still worth playing. I think if you're a Digimon, or even a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan and just like I only love card games, give Pokemon Colosseum a chance.
Jokes aside, I think you might be right because with Yu-Gi-Oh and Digimon, it is a little bit dark, and this game does touch on it, although it doesn't go all the way in.
I know, dude. Explain to them the dark timeline that we never got, dude.
Yeah, so like this game, you were supposed to like naturally become more and more evil as like this game goes on. And like the ending, the original ending they had for this game, I believe, is that Wes actually takes over Team Cypher.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's the idea for Gale. Spoilers for ahead. But
spoilers ahead. But like I think that's like what's the original story for this game is that you eventually take over Team Cypher. You dethrone Evis, and like that's
and then you kill your girl, and you just tell her like, no, I am.
Yeah, and you take over. We'll save the rest of that for XD. But like, this game, best timeline. It would have been dark as shit, and I think it would have like showed a lot of people that like, hey, Pokemon is for everybody. Kind of like how Star Wars is for everybody. However wherever you land on that on that debate, Pokemon is for everybody because the kids that grew up playing Pokemon are going to be playing when they're 97 and barely clinging to life, or at least I intend to.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever gonna stop.
Right.
We're gonna play Pokemon Sleep. Yeah, we're gonna play Pokemon Sleep until I'm dead asleep.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So, if that's it, then thanks everybody for watching. Thanks Perkley for joining us.
Thank you for having me again. It was a lot of fun.
Of course. And if you want to check out more Babblers, link is down below to the playlist, so you could watch them all just continuously. Bono, thanks again for hanging out and co-hosting and basically carrying the episode. Like
seriously, I could not tell you a single event that happened. I was like, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then
I got an hour and a half here, and I still feel like I haven't done this game enough justice.
Yeah, I thought this episode was going to go for way longer. But I mean, I think that we got through the most important parts, and especially with you explaining everything was so well done too.
Right,
so
okay, fine. Real quick then, if you could add one Shadow Pokemon, what would it have been?
Does it have to Gen 2 or 3 Pokemon, or could we go to a Gen 1 Pokemon?
Gen 2 and 3, because there are no
That
Gen
makes
1.
Shit, I was
So.
gonna say Shadow Charizard, Shadow Dragon.
I mean, that would have been sick. That would have been sick.
Shadow Kingdra.
Shadow Kingdra's a given.
That would be pretty cool, yep. I
Or
wish there was
Shadow
a Shadow Lugia, but...
I
wait.
think they did it in XD, but Shadow Manectric if you need more electric types.
Shit.
Would have been nice.
I would say like the Shadow Regis would have been tight.
Oh, right, yeah.
And what if there were like event things too, like not even like just a battle, but like you like went out and found them, like you did in like the original or in the
Like you
Game
found
Boy
them like in
games?
the underground Coliseum.
Yeah, you had to do some sort of secret, like
Oh
you
my
see the
God.
dots and everything. You have to like read it. That'd have been kind of cool.
Or
Yeah.
like, you know how, well, I mean, we'll talk about it in XD, but there's a Pokemon that's in there that won't be shown until the next generation. But what if they did that with Regigigas in this game?
But I hate Regigigas.
Shadow Regigigas.
Regigigas sucks.
Just as like a secret boss, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be sick, but just Regigigas
Yeah.
sucks.
Right.
And I know we did it in the call. I know we're gonna be padding out more time here, but we did it in the Crystal episode or the Gen 2 episode. So I want to do it here. What would you like? Obviously, Patrick said like add the what Shadow Pokemon would you add, but like what would you change to make this game like more like longer or better or like the perfect version of Colosseum? Because I have a couple things, and I'll go ahead and start off until you guys want to chime in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say like because obviously you have the 48 Pokemon, right? I would say like keep certain amounts of them, like keep the legendary beasts as like the static encounters, but give me a new table of completely different Shadow Pokemon, and have like each time you play the game be a randomized table of Pokemon.
Ooh, okay.
So like, I mean, if you like
Well,
play
would
it
you
multiple-
be able to still catch them all? It's just random on where they show up.
That's what I was always bouncing back and forth between, like in my private thoughts of this game is like, would I randomize the order or would I have 3 separate tables of Pokemon?
I like the tables, but the problem is like you'd have to play it 3 separate times and hoping you'd get the different order just to catch them all.
Right.
How about
And-
this? How about this? What if you get certain odds for a Shadow Pokemon as you would a shiny Pokemon? It's like better odds, but it's like you go into the like if you were to go like into the wild, for example, if you were to find wild Pokemon like you would in XD, and it's like it's like a 1 in 10 chance that it's a Shadow Pokemon.
I mean, that's cool. That's another thing. Obviously, like we save till XD, but wild Pokemon. I would have loved wild Pokemon to be in this game, even with like the reduced ones you could catch. Like I'd still enjoy that.
So I would want something like Pokemon Sword and Shield, where like, there's only an area for wild Pokemon, not like wild Pokemon throughout the whole entire game. Because I like the idea of just straight double battles with trainers. I feel like that would be more realistic in the real world. You wouldn't be going around like in the wild trying to find trainers. You would go in the wild to find Shadow Pokemon or just random Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you were gonna add wild encounters, I would want just like one big section area. That would be better in my opinion.
Also, like another thing is like have with the separate tables of Pokemon, have each one of those start with different evolutions. So like you could have option A be Espeon, Umbreon. Second one could be Vaporeon, Flareon, or Vaporeon, Jolteon. However they mix it up, but like you start with 2 different evolutions every time.
Yeah, you get like 2 different items. Like you could pick between 2 different items from like a character or whatever.
Right. And I mean, it is kind of like a cop out because there's, like I said, 3 tables, but like maybe have each of the thing. Well, it probably wouldn't all fit because there's only so many Pokemon in Gen 2. But like obviously, like the first one's a Makuhita, right? But like swap it out for like a other generation equivalent, like a Machop, for instance.
Or Meditite.
Or Meditite, or have a Slugma for a Growlithe, or a Slugma for a Vulpix, or Misdreavus for a Ghastly, or Noctowl for a Pidgeot, or a Pidgeotto, stuff like that. To do that, obviously, like the story, I would love if it was a dark story. It doesn't have to go like full murder, kill, dark. But just
I
something
want
different.
you to kill your girlfriend on accident, and it just pushes you over the edge, and you just that's why you become the leader, and you're just like, no, I'm snagging them all because of her.
Yeah.
Right.
Snagging them all because she snagged my heart.
Snag my heart.
But,
Battle Mountain is cool, but I wouldn't make that part of the game. I wouldn't make that part of the thing. I just feel like there should probably be like a Mount Battle is cool, but like
I was gonna say, would you still make it 100 battles? I think you have to change that up.
I would still have it be 100 battles. I would just have like the battles be faster, like cut out the whole
or
like
more difficult.
because you know how it starts. It starts with like the spin around of like the area, which is cool the first time, but every other time it's there's like that 10 or 15-second gap.
Or
that, like,
if they do 50 battles, it's more condensed, and it's just more concentrated, like battles, like the best battles, just condensed into 50. Like you choose like a 50 mount battle or a 100 mount battle.
I like that. Yeah.
Also, I've said it before in other games, but I love Pokemon as a prize, as a concept. So I would like maybe do like
Porygon.
But like have like each Colosseum, because you do battle at most of the Colosseums in the main story. Have each of them have like another table of like 5 Pokemon that you can get. So like
you swap out. That's what Pokemon. That's what the tents were, right? In Gen 3, yeah.
Yeah, instead of like having
random,
but like their prizes. Like you have to battle the Colosseum a number of times to get every single Pokemon. And also that could be like in-game tracking. If you beat it once, you get a Trapinch. If you beat it twice, you get and as generally as you many times as you do it, then that's when you get like a Dratini or a Gibble or whatever. Like then you get like the 5th time you get like the best Pokemon.
Yeah.
But like the first 4 times you get like mid Pokemon. Because the game is called Colosseum.
Yeah.
And while you do go there, you don't really spend a lot of time there, and they don't really have that much significance. Oh, forgot. Also, another thing we didn't talk about is the end game Colosseum. The what's it called? It's not. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the one in the desert. That's like the last area you unlock. Let me see if I can get. Yeah. It might be XD, but I think it might be Colosseum 2. Yeah, because you beat it, and then like that's when you can actually do the Colosseum. Either way, it's like the last Colosseum you unlock. I just don't remember what it's called, and it is in there, and that's where you can do like the unrestricted level 100 battles. It's supposed to be like this like super like restrictive area and stuff like that. But I don't. But it like I don't know if the budget wasn't there or the time constraint wasn't there. But there was like nothing done with it. So I'd rather have like the Colosseums have like more lore and more involvement in the story. Because like the Pirate Colosseum is like something that the workers built to like battle Pokemon and have fun when they weren't deep down in the mines wasting doing their work. Yeah. Fenac City, it was like has like the like the waterfall and all that. And it's like it's not like a utopia, but it's like a very nice city in the desert. It's kind of like an oasis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of reflective. Like in there's water pouring out in the Colosseum too, and they have like all these banners, but there's no story to it. They also have like the training gym in Fenac City that doesn't it's supposed to be like a training gym. It's supposed to like help trainers learn more so that way they can do better in the Colosseum, I guess. But there's nothing there. Like there's no more to that. It's just like you're just told that, and then right. And then Ryogam Tower, like the last Colosseum in the game, is like this new thing, but it's not like something in the story that's like being like drip fed to you like the whole time. You just go there once and then like you don't come there till the end of the game. But I would have loved to if they like drip fed it to you like every like in a news blurb or whatever, like, hey, construction on Ryogam Tower is supposed to bring visitation and kind of like a market economy thing. Like it's supposed to reinvigorate the economy of the Ore region, by showcasing the best battles in the area and stuff like that. But I also would have been cool if it tied in with like Cypher, because obviously they're the ones paying for it and building it. If it was kind of like Battle City rules for Yu-Gi-Oh, like you have to put up a Pokemon in order to enter the Colosseum.
Ooh, stakes.
I don't know how they would roll that in Pokemon. Like you have to put up a Pokemon, and
dude, could you imagine Ash putting up Pikachu like
it's collateral?
And
he loses.
Maybe it's like you have to put up a Pokemon or you have to put up money. They could do either or, but you have to put it.
Money's there's no stakes,
right? Or maybe you lose the Pokemon, but you can buy it back or something like that with Pokémon or something.
Pikachu going to the mines,
Gone forever.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Just got
That would have been a
Pikachu
cool
no
idea.
more.
I don't know how
God.
how they would do it, but that would be like sick if you had to actually put stakes on the line and do something like
Could
that.
you
And
imagine? Oh,
that
that'd
could
be
like fold
sick.
into it. Yeah, that could fold into it. Like that's how they get Pokemon from. They get like the strongest Pokemon from these people, and then turn them into Shadow Pokemon. Like that would flow
gosh.
well with the story.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
how they do that game wise, because then eventually you might be able to
It's
run
just
out of
complicated
Pokemon.
as shit. Yeah, exactly. The game over.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, the games have to have a lose condition, right?
Yeah, right.
No, not Pokemon.
Well,
How is
with
Pokemon ever going to
I
have a
think
lose
they might.
condition?
I think it might be the same as like the boxes where it's like, oh, this is your last Pokemon. You can't put that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
But,
that. Mini games too. Like there are a couple mini games. Like I mean, obviously we'll never have slots or roulette again.
Yeah.
Thanks, America.
Voltorb
But-
flip.
Yeah, Voltorb flip. But they could have like an arcade mode where you could like earn some Poke coupons
Yeah.
to make it easier because
There
like,
needs to be DDR, a Pokemon DDR.
Well, they
game.
had a way or something similar to what you're talking about, Bono, in XD,
XD,
which
yeah.
we'll talk about. But we'll have to leave that for the next episode, then, shouldn't we?
But yeah, I would love to see the comment section like chime in and like if they've played it and be like, what would you add to make like the perfect Colosseum
Yeah.
experience, and like what
Yeah.
would you change to make it better?
Yeah, let us know in the comments, you guys. Like, what would you add into Colosseum to make this game better? Like, if you're
Save
thinking,
everywhere. Save
Yeah.
anywhere.
yeah, literally just that, like quality of life stuff. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. We will check you in the next episode. But until then, later.